Congratulations at nakatapos kayo sa inyong Module 1. Kumusta na kayo? How's your experience sa pagsagot sa inyong mga modules? I hope na nag-enjoy kayo sa inyong pagsasagot. Welcome to Lesson 2 of your Senior High School Accounting. I hope hawak nyo na ang inyong mga module and excited na for today's lesson. In our previous lesson, we've discussed about the first of the 4 financial statements, ang statement of financial position. In this video, we will study another financial statement, and that is the statement of comprehensive income. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to A. Identify the purpose and elements of the statement of comprehensive income or SCI. B. Prepare a single-step SCI for a service company. And C. Prepare a multi-step SCI for a merchandising company. Before we proceed with our lesson, let's have a review of what we've discussed last time. In your notebook, write a short definition of the following terms. A. Statement of financial position. B. Report form. And C. Account form. Next, enumerate the parts of the SFP. So yan, isulat nyo sa notebook nyo yung 4 na parts. For activity number 2, sa lesson 1 natin, you prepared your personal SFP. This time, ang gagawin nyo naman ay ang inyong personal SCI. Step 1, write your monthly allowance. That's computed by your daily allowance multiplied by the number of days in a month. Step 2, write the amount you spend on food, phone load, etc. Make it monthly to match your allowance. Step 3, deduct the amount you spend on the amount of your allowance. And step 4, associate allowance with revenue and spending with expense with the net amount as net income. Tapos na ba kayo? Let's proceed with our lesson. Statement of comprehensive income. We will continue our study of the financial statements with a statement of comprehensive income. So the SCI is a statement that reports the results of operation of the business for one accounting period. This is also described as for the period report, which means that the amounts presented on the report includes only those that occurred within the given period. Look at this example. The statement contains the following information. A. The revenue generated by operating the business, then the cost spent to generate the revenue, and the income, which is the excess of revenue and cost. Let's discuss the elements of the SCI. First is income. Income refers to a transaction that increases assets and/or decreases liabilities, leading to increase in equity resulting from the operations of the business and not from the owner's contribution. There are 2 types of income. First is the revenue. Pag sinabi nating revenue, ito yung mga income generated from the primary operations of the business. Another one is gain. So yan naman, income derived from other activities of the business. Classification of income as to revenue and gains is dependent on the nature of the business. For example, for one sari-sari store, interest income is not revenue. However, for a bank whose primary operation is to give out loans, interest income is considered revenue. Next element, the expenses. So these are transactions that decrease assets and or increase liabilities, leading to decrease in equity resulting from the operations of the business and not because of distribution to owners. There are also two types of expense. First is expenses and losses. Expenses are those related to the primary operations of the business, while losses are from other activities of the business. Halimbawa, yung sari-sari store ni Juana, the cost of merchandise sold is part of the store's selling activities. Therefore, it is classified as an expense. Interest expense from notes payable is not part of the selling activities of the store. It is classified as losses and other expenses. Accrual is one of the fundamental concepts of financial accounting. Specifically, this is the concept that dictates when an item must be reported on the SCI. Accrual states that revenue must be reported on the accounting period that it was earned. Similarly, expenses must be reported during the same reporting period they were incurred. Pero ano ba talagang ibig sabihin itong accrual na ito? When are revenue earned and expenses incurred? Revenue is earned upon delivery of goods and services, not when payment is received from the customer. More specifically, sale of goods are reported on the SCI on the period of delivery. On the other hand, revenues from services are counted on the period when services are rendered. Expenses naman is recognized when an item is used to generate revenue. There are three approaches in recognizing expense. Una, matching principle. Pangalawa, principle of rational allocation. And pangatlo, expenditure. Number 1, matching principle. This requires that expenses should be recorded in the same period in which the revenue to which those expenses relate is recognized. Let's take a look at this example. The food items in a birthday party may have been purchased on December 31, 2018. At this point, the food items are raw materials inventory. However, when the food items are served at a party, these were used to generate revenue. Hence, hindi na yun asset and become an expense on January 2, 2019, yung date ng party. This is referred to as matching principle. Expenses are matched and recorded in the same period that the revenue it generated was recognized. Next, number 2, principle of rational allocation. This requires the cost of long-term expenditure to be rationally allocated over the period of usage based on expected pattern of usage. Let's take a look at this example. Depreciation of equipment. In your accounting 1, you've learned the formula used to compute for the depreciation. Naalala niyo pa ba? Number 3, expenditure. Expenditures are charged immediately to expense if the period and the pattern of usage is not clear such that there is no rational way to allocate. Ang example niyan ay ang cost of advertising. So, yung iba, one-time charging na lamang yung advertisement expense nila. There are two kinds of revenue. First is service income. This is used by service operations and is recorded based on the percentage of completion of contractual services. The second one is the sales revenue. This is used by trading operations and is recognized when goods are delivered. The following are accounts associated with sales revenue. Sales return and allowances. This is a contra sales account used to report the selling price of goods returned by customers. Sales discount. This is a contra sales account used to report the amount of discount taken by the customers. And net sales, which is computed as gross sales less sales returns and allowances and sales discount. Example, if you can see, sales revenue, then amount, less the total ng sales return and allowances and sales discount. The answer is the net sales. Cost of sales. This refers to the cost of inventory sold. There are two types of inventory accounting. The first is perpetual inventory system and periodic inventory system. In perpetual inventory accounting, this means that the inventory account is perpetually updated for goods purchased and sold. On the other hand, periodic inventory accounting does not update the inventory account for purchases and sales. Ito yung mga account titles na ginagamit sa periodic inventory system. Una, purchases. This is used to report acquisitions of merchandise for sale. Next, purchase returns and allowances. Ito naman is a contra-purchase account that reports the cost of goods returned to suppliers. Purchase discount, a contra-purchase account that reports the amount of discount taken by the company. Freight-in naman refers to shipping cost necessary to bring inventory purchased from the seller to the premises of the company. Inventory, which is determined by actual physical count of merchandise owned, and the cost of sales. This is determined as follows: beginning inventory plus net purchases less ending inventory equals cost of goods sold. Operating expense. This refers to all other expenses related to the operation of the business other than the cost of sales. This also includes salaries of employees, supplies, utilities, gasoline expense, representation, bad debts expense, depreciation, and amortization. Bad debt expense. Bad debt expense is an operating expense related to accounts receivable. It is an estimated expense. Accounts receivable is the right to collect payments from customers. However, some accounts become uncollectible, and this is bad debt expense. There are two formats of the SCI. The first is the single-step SCI. This groups all revenue together and groups all expenses together. Net income is simply computed using a single step, which is revenue less expenses. This is also a nature of expense format, where expenses are listed based on the source of expense, such as salaries, purchases, supplies, utilities, fuel, and depreciation. Take a look at this example. Ito ang example ng single-step statement of comprehensive income. As you can see, nakasulat dyan ang revenue and then less all the expenses para makuha ang net income. The second format of the SCI is the multi-step SCI. This is called multi-step because there are several steps needed to arrive at the company's net income. Here, revenue and expenses are classified and presented on the following sections: gross profit, operating section, and non-operating section. Sa multi-step SCI, there are subtotals at the end of each section, namely net sales, gross profit, and net income. Expenses are listed based on usage or function of expense. Operating expenses are categorized into cost of sales, general and administrative expenses, and selling expenses. Take a look at this example. Makikita nyo dyan, under ng gross profit, ang section for general and administrative expense. Nakaisa-isa dyan kung ano yung mga expenses under it. Next naman ay ang selling expenses na naka-itemize din or nakasulat din kung ano-ano yung mga expenses under selling expense bago pa siya mag-arrive sa net income, which is 93,000. Now, let's discuss the different parts of the SCI. For a service company, the first part is the heading. So, dyan nakalagay, Learning is Fund Company, Statement of Comprehensive Income for the year ended December 31, 2018. The second part is the revenue. Then, all the expenses and the net income. Sa merchandising company naman, ang parts ng SCI, una ang heading, followed by the sales and contra sales account. The third part is the cost of goods sold. The fourth part is the expenses. Here makikita nyo sa example na nakasulat ang general and administrative expense. Lastly, selling expense. Guys, remember, only temporary accounts are included in the SCI. Temporary account means that at the end of the accounting period, balances of these accounts are transferred to the capital account, thus having only temporary amounts and resulting to zero balances at the beginning of the next accounting period. And that's it! I hope nag-enjoy kayo at natuto sa lesson natin for today. Get your modules and answers